Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I am your host, Mike Gonzalez. And as always, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the comments and for sending me messages on lostlikemike@gmail.com. Today, I decided to do something different. I asked my wife, Julie, to be on the show. And she said yes, but only if she's off camera. So if you're listening to the podcast on one of the many stations, you can download it, Spotify and Google Podcasts, and YouTube has podcasts as well. We're going to try to figure that out soon. Then it's not going to matter to you because you wouldn't see her anyway, and so it's no big deal. But for those that are watching me on camera, if you see me look off and speak to somebody and they respond, I did mention that it was going to be considered very rude, but she said she doesn't care about what you think. She's just going to do whatever the hell she wants, and if you want to hear what she has to say, it has to be off camera. So I said, fine. So, ladies and gentlemen, my partner in crime, my co-host for the evening, say hello. Say hello. Something. Cheese and crackers.
Hello.
So that I have so there's certain stories that I'm going to talk about today that she's never heard, and I thought it was going to be fun because I would tell the story and you would get to see firsthand her reactions, but she wanted to be off camera, so I'll have to describe her reactions.
You can hear my reactions.
Already, even in setting up in the studio today, and she shouldn't roll her eyes when I call it a studio. It's what it is. There's the microphones, there's lights, okay? Not even 2 minutes in and you're ready. I'm just kidding. But while we were setting it up, because I have to turn off the ceiling fan, she's like, it's disgusting. You need to clean that ceiling fan. Why do you have it so dusty? And then what else were you criticizing me about the room?
Every time you move stuff, you chip the paint.
Right. So apparently, when I'm remodeling I've had many different connotations, many different ways of constructing this room. I've made a mess of the paint on the walls. Which, okay, I'm going to segue into the first story of the day because I'll tell you what happens, okay? Now, I have a dog. I have a golden retriever I've introduced to y'all a couple episodes ago. I've talked about it in the past, but y'all got to actually see her. Okay? And there's two different sets of rules in the house, all right? One for me and one for my dog Willow.
What?
It's the truth. Look, first of all, here's what's up, okay? My dog Willow, for whatever reason, for like the first 2.5, 3 years of her life, would literally eat the walls. I would put her in bed next to me, and she'd start.
And she was a puppy.
Yeah, it's the first 3 years of her life. But like I'm saying, did she go to dog school?
She ate 2 spots on the wall.
I mean, are you serious right now? There's one over there. When she was like 3 or 4 years old. How old is she now?
4.
Okay, like last week?
No. It was like 2 years ago.
Anyway, but point is, I move furniture around to try to get the best, ergonomically, like, set up the feng shui of the room, right? And so I chip a little paint. You gotta crack a couple eggs to make an omelet. No, I get called out first thing out. The dog literally eats the walls and can get away with it. But anyway, I digress. The point is, what reminded me of that was that, okay. I don't want to make light of the idea of PTSD, but I have a form of it, and I'll explain. many years ago. Well, many years ago, right? I don't know how old Harlow was, but Harlow had one of her first accidents where I don't know what she was doing, but she bumped herself, I think, on her lip, and it was bleeding. The reason why I tell this story is because I was asleep. I mean, knocked out, REM sleep, dreaming of things. And I hear like just a primal cry of trauma calling my name out. Okay? Do you remember this? Kind of. And I sat upright like I was possessed, just from dead sleep to sitting up. And here she comes rushing in the room, holding the baby. I thought she was going to say that,
I don't even remember how she hurt herself.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I don't blame you for it. Don't look at, I mean, I'm not saying that, you were juggling her and all of a sudden.
You always blame me.
On a side note, we do this, like, I don't want to jump off to 10 different stories, okay? But we do this thing where she lays flat on the couch. Harlow does, my daughter. And I'll scoop her up. And she used to like doing airplanes, but now lately it's been a helicopter. Because she likes to do this, like, flying up and down kind of thing, right? And I think one day she was doing, so I fly her to her bedroom to go lay down, all right? That's the story. And
flew her into the wall.
The door was closed, and I was doing here we go, flying, and I always have her with her, she grabs the door with her hand, because it's obviously free, and I'm the one carrying, she's not 2 pounds. I mean, she's like,
She's like 60 pounds.
Like 60 pounds. So I'm doing this up and anyway. And I thought she had the doorknob, and apparently she didn't know, and I rammed her. Not hard, but it was like,
She cried.
She did not. She didn't cry until you said, "What did you do?" or whatever.
That's full of crap. She cried.
I didn't ram her into the door.
Yeah, you did.
No, I tapped her.
Like a police breaking down.
I tapped her.
With her head.
Honey, I'm sitting here telling the listeners that I don't remember, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, how our daughter got a bloody lip. And you're sitting here saying I rammed her into the thing like a battering ram?
What is this?
It's quotation marks around the idea of not remembering why, you wanted to teach her how to shave at 3 months old or whatever. All right, no, look, but to get back to the original story, this is the hard part.
This was about the dog. And now you started about the dog, and now you're in this other.
Was it about the dog?
Yeah. You're talking about how you have like a form of PTSD.
Recall. Thank you.
And ADHD.
See, this is why it's good to have somebody come by every now and then. All right. Let me finish up then with that part of the story.
Your other letters that you have.
Point is that
ADHD. That's why you digress.
It's called having like a fluid consciousness where my mind goes wherever it wants to go, but I get there.
That's called ADHD.
I refuse to be defined by your letters, ma'am. You can take your ADHD and anyway.
But it was
so
PTSD.
She ran inside the room screaming bloody murder about this child. And so whenever she says my name, I always feel like it's that. It's some kind of, dramatic event is about to happen. I'm about to hear some really bad news, or something really horrible happened, or some accidents come. So and I don't mean to make light of PTSD. It's a very serious thing that people that have suffered real trauma, endure, but I'm just saying, live inside my brain, hear somebody say my name, hear her say my name. So I'm sitting at work and she calls. This is to flash to the dog again. And she's all upset. Okay. Well, we purchased this house, I don't know, 10 years ago, give or take, right? And when we moved in, they had done some recent renovations. But one thing they did not renovate was the windows. Okay, the windows.
House was built in like
the 60s, 50, 60, something like that.
Yeah, they're original windows.
Yeah, single pane glass windows, okay? And we had been talking about changing them out for many years. It's one of those financial things where you have to get ready for it and invest or whatever. You have to, you can't just run into it.
Which is what we ultimately ended up doing.
Right. Which is, okay.
But go ahead.
Right. We're not Tarantinoing this. We're not starting at the end. I'm trying to build up to that.
Okay. Keep going.
You're already like, okay. I mean, I'm sure that it's like I was driving home with talking to my mom on the phone, and she goes, my mom says, I don't want to ruin it. No spoilers, no spoilers. And then told me the whole story of the TV show. She's like, so you should watch it. I'm like, Mom, you just told me the whole story. Anyway. So, okay. So we have the single pane glass all through the house. It's just murder on our electric bill and
like so bad that when it's really cold outside, we have ice on the inside of our windows.
And we have to put towels and blankets sometimes lining up, right? Like when it was the freeze.
Yeah.
But, okay. So we have this thing where this ottoman or something where the dog would sleep and look out the window, right? And we would leave the blinds elevated a couple of feet up so that the dog could look out the window. It's literally our dog's favorite thing to do is to look out this window, right? And the dog would bark at just anything. That it's like the best security. I mean, weren't you saying one time that you saw on our Ring camera that there was a suspicious person kind of walking at like 5 a.m?
Yeah.
And the dog
There's been recent break-ins and stuff.
Right. And then so the dog would bark, and then this suspicious person
started walking faster.
Yeah, and took off. Right. And there have been a lot of in the neighborhood bad stuff. So in a way, there's kind of a good, but I always say she's like the worst. She's the worst watchdog. What do you call those? Ruff ruff watchdogs. I didn't mean to say ruff ruff. I was trying. The word guard dogs. Cheese and crackers.
She's a good guard dog. She guards the house from the birds and the squirrels and the rabbits and the cats.
No, she barks with more ferocity when it's a bird or a rabbit or a squirrel than she does when it's like a bad person. To give you perspective, maybe a couple weeks ago, I walked out to the car, right? And she started, I guess I walked 2 times around the car to put something into the trunk. And she starts barking like crazy. I'm like, dumbass, it's me, dude.
She's also still trying to get used to your different car.
Okay, so I'm not going to give her credit for not recognizing a different vehicle. It was still me standing outside of the vehicle, putting something in the trunk. And she starts, rah, 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 like...
Maybe you had your glasses on.
We're going with the Clark Kent defense. My glasses changed my whole persona.
Yeah, when you've come in the house with glasses or a hat on, she's like, who is this person?
That says more about the intelligence of this animal than it does anything else.
That is.
I'm sorry. What are you saying? All right. Anyway, but so she would sit there and look out the glass, and I noticed, a long time back, that this dog would sit there, and when she would get upset about a rabbit or whatever, she'd sit up on her back legs and she'd start hitting at the glass. And we'd be like, hey, stop it, whatever, stop it. And so the writing was on the wall, and I would say it to you that this was a problem, whatever.
One day it's gonna happen.
one day it's gonna happen. Flash forward, I'm at work, and she's saying my name. She calls and she says my name with that same, and I'm like, what happened? Is the baby okay? What's going on? And she's like, you know, apparently they were in another room. You could tell that part of it. And the dog, they heard bark, 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 and then something shatter. I mean, to tell you how old this glass is, it's not even tempered. The way that, you know, like glass is supposed to break and like crumple, like you're jumping through it, like in an action movie, you know what I mean? Where it just falls to little pieces or whatever. It was like these giant shards of glass. And the dog cut her paw somewhere on the meat, the paw pad. And it was a whole ordeal, like, because the window was just going to be open and she was alone here at the house with the dog and the baby, and they were going to have to go to Lowe's or to Home Depot and, you know, get something to board up the windows, or, you know. We just didn't see, I mean, it was on the forecast for the future, what we wanted to do, but it wasn't like, oh, cool, let's spend the money. And then, let me tell you something, you know, I'm making an argument for this dog being not smart, okay? And I'll tell you why. I'm sorry, but my dog goes over to the newly boarded up windows and barks to open the window. And then you look at her and she gives you the side eye, like, when are you gonna do it? And like, you're stupid. Your paw's still bleeding, and you don't even like make the connection that window's not there anymore.
4 to 6 weeks, we can open the window.
Right, and like when we get the windows ordered. I mean, you know, I love the dog. Don't get me wrong. You know, she's just not smart.
That's rude.
What do you want me to say?
She is smart. She's a dog.
I put food in her food bowl, right? Oh, so let me tell you this, right? My dog has a licking problem. She licks and licks and licks and licks. And it's something we talked to the vet, and they said...
She's licking her injury.
She licks the top of the paw because it soothes her, right?
Yeah. But she's licking the bottom where the boo-boo is.
But part of licking that is keeping the wound open. So what am I doing on my day off? And I know you did a lot on your day. I understand. This, you know, I was going to say this fool. Julie had to go. She had to go to the store.
We were supposed to go shopping, and we ended up at Home Depot, Lowe's, with nobody to help us. They don't want to do nothing.
I've often talked about Lowe's being just, regardless of the prices or whatever, they have, I mean, and I'm sorry, but this is purely anecdotal, just really horrible customer service in terms of like, did anybody help you when you were walking around the store trying to figure out, you know, the plywood and what, I mean,
No.
You know what I mean?
They were like, he's like, I think the cutting machine's broken. So they wouldn't cut any wood. They're like, you can find some pre-cut pieces over that way on aisle 50. And we went over there, measured them, loaded them up, paid for them, loaded them up in the car.
Yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Home Depot guy that came out to measure the windows helped us.
We're in no way sponsored by Home Depot, by the way.
Screw them into the wall. But I really didn't even need help with that. It was just, I couldn't board up the window until the guy measured.
Yeah.
And it happened at 10 something.
Right.
But the guy couldn't come measure until 1, but he didn't get there till almost 2. So this whole time it was cold and rainy, and the window was just open with these giant glass pieces just sticking out.
Well, the Home Depot guy, and this is the thing about it, because she's really handy with, you know, she can fix things or whatever.
Yeah, talking crap about Lowe's, right? I worked there for 8 years.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she set the standard there at Lowe's for 8 years of how to ignore customers. I'm just kidding. You said they have bad customer service. I'm just extending on that thing.
I worked behind the scenes.
Yeah. But anyway, so the Home Depot guy actually was cool enough to help install these, the plywoods on the boards to board up the windows. So they get, kudos for me. And I was stuck at work. I would have loved to get a stamp on my man card, but
I got a stamp on my man card.
yeah, she gets all the stamps on that. Anyway, so I went and got to get the dog a cone. So y'all know what cones look like typically, right? They look, you've seen the famous phonograph. Was it RCA dog with? Is that? Am I drunk? Where you have the it's a cone. It was a record label. I'll end up looking it up and posting it on here. But they had a logo where it had a dog and it had a cone on it, because I guess for phonograph records you would have like a cone. Unnecessary flag on the play. Didn't even have to talk about all that. But the point is that the dog needed a cone because she would not stop licking her paw, and it was she would tear the bandage off and she would open the wound again. And right now we're still even debating whether to get the dog stitches. It's just we're sitting in the middle of the weekend and it's difficult.
Well, we went to the emergency vet today and they had a 14-hour wait. And I called over 20 places and they were either 6 to 8 hours, and I was not going to sit there with Harlow like that.
I mean, who's going to... 14-hour wait.
Yeah.
Come on.
They had emergency, like back-to-back emergency surgeries.
Well, just see, the latter half are probably going to die.
Why would you say that?
Because what kind of emergency are you going to be sitting there like blood gushing and then you're 13 hours? Cool, we'll wait.
No, they couldn't see people because they had stuff scheduled. There was people outside the place crying when we pulled up. It was horrible.
See, they're dying.
Michael.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, 14 hours? Who's saying 12 hours was okay to wait till?
I'm just saying we couldn't wait that long, and I called like over 20 places, and I'm not gonna sit in a place like that with her for 6 to 8 hours.
Her meaning my daughter, not the dog. She's willing to sacrifice her day and spend 8 hours waiting to get seen with a dog, but it's not fair to do that to our daughter. Yeah, I'm just explaining to the people listening, because it makes you sound like a dick. Like, I'm not gonna wait 14 hours for a dog. No. That's not what you're saying.
All day with the dog. I'm not gonna make Harlow sit there.
Thank you. A day. Okay. Now that they're on the same page.
She just had a cut on her paw. It wasn't like a life or death emergency.
Which is my point. I said put super glue, call it a day.
No.
I know it's a joke.
But you went to go get a blow-up cone.
Oh, so I went and got a cone, right?
A pillow cone.
It's stupid. It's 40 some odd dollars. I'm gonna put a picture of it right here. And it's like a lifesaver raft around the neck. And you know what the first thing the dog does? Leans it sideways and starts licking her paw. That son of a bitch.
Several hours later.
What?
She lasted a couple hours before she discovered she could.
Okay, $45. She needs to not lick her paw. I'm gonna put some chili on her paw.
Put some chili on your paw.
What is that supposed to mean? It's just stupid. No.
You're being rude to the dog.
I'm just kidding. They never told you that when you bite your nails? Yes, they'll put chili on your fingers.
But she has an open wound.
I'm not really gonna put chili on the dog. I was just telling her, being funny, facetious. So anyway, the dog is taking a break from wearing her cone.
Yeah,
because
she's sleeping.
Apparently we're getting our dog hooked on opiates right now. She's on
we're not.
Some heavy duty painkillers. You said they were painkillers.
Yeah, but they were prescribed for her.
Right. The famous. The words
Her
that's
jumping-
that's on the T-shirt of the opioid epidemic of
Her
America.
jumping through the window it cost us about $2,000.
Well, so there's my reaction to that.
Yeah.
No, not
And she got-
$2,000, like $3,000.
Well, no. I'm saying just because it was like $50 for the cone, $50 to board up the window, and then the window itself was $1,200. But then we decided to add more windows.
Here's
So
the
we're
thing.
at like 5.
Be-
4,500. I don't know. We might take one window off.
No, we'll keep that window because we said. Anyway, it's a long time coming for the windows. We were gonna do them anyway, but the question of the hour is like, how are you gonna keep the dog from messing up the
New window.
the new window? You know, because now I mean, she obviously didn't learn anything, and it's like.
How do you know she didn't learn anything?
Because she was sitting by the closed, boarded up windows barking, wanting to get to do what she normally
She
does.
just wants to see.
Okay.
Doesn't mean she didn't learn
All right.
the lesson.
Okay. But I'm telling you, I'm going to get a small BB gun. And when the dog puts her paw up in the air, I'm going to be like, pew.
I'm gonna pew you.
I'm just kidding. I would never do that. I'm not condoning that. Never would I ever do that. I'm just playing. She's not, though, about shooting me with a BB gun.
No, I am. Don't say that.
Oh, but the dog, I mean, needs to learn. Maybe we got to get her a friend. That's what we talked about doing, getting her a friend.
Yeah, another golden retriever.
Okay, so, what, this fool? No, dude, we're barely getting started over this, seem like you're tired. We're recording this late at night because, this is Easter weekend, apparently, and,
Apparently.
well, apparently, yeah, because last week was the week before Easter, so this would be the week of Easter. I commented on the show. If this is your first time listening, you're listening out of sync, or just randomly, like 50 years from now, falling upon it and checking it out for some weird reason, this is what you decided to listen to. The week we recorded this on Easter week. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
And so we have a lot of things to do tomorrow. So I'm recording the episode early, or late at night, but early for when I normally record, which is on Sundays. Okay? But yeah, that's about all. We're going to talk about the dog because yeah, we'll get new windows here in a couple weeks. She does this whenever we're hanging out. She'll start looking at her phone. It's the rudest thing.
I'm tired. I'm trying to stay awake.
Oh, am I boring you, ma'am?
Hey,
Is this conversation
are you talking about?
too boring?
Oh, I get on my phone. You get on your phone and you play games.
Only on commercials.
That's a lie.
So we were driving, what was it, last week, and we were going to an Easter egg hunt. I think I briefly talked about it on the podcast. Oh, you know what it was? I sat and I was trying to get my daughter to be on the film. That was what I said about it last week, because she was so hopped up on sugar that she didn't want to sit down. She wanted to like be funny and stick her tongue out a bunch, and it was cute, but I wanted to let her go do that. But anyway, when we were driving there, I always wanted to give her 10 good years of not being like thinking about really heavy things, but she's gone through a lot in her life, and so it's been difficult. But sometimes she'll say something that will really like cut through and make me feel like, I don't know, I guess sad about it. But we were driving and we were driving by, and she says from the back seat, she says, what are all those flowers and stuff there? And I was telling her, well, that's a cemetery. And she thought about it for a minute, and then she said, she kind of like said in a sort of upset voice, well, I don't want to be buried in a cemetery. And it kind of caught me off guard. Did it catch you off guard as well? Did it, and I didn't want to get into it necessarily, but I was like, well, I don't want to be buried in a cemetery either. And because, I mean, I think the whole ash to ash, dust to dust, whatever, is fine, well and good. But, my father was cremated, my brother was cremated. But I don't want to get into that conversation with her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that would be traumatic for her too.
Right. Probably more so, I would think, if you had to explain all that. But, and then a couple nights later, she has this stuff.
We just kind of left it at that, though.
Right. I mean, no, she took solace in the fact that I said, well, we don't have to.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, cool. But I didn't say.
We didn't elaborate, though. We
Right.
just kind of left it.
Yeah. But a couple nights later, she was talking about, what are you doing over there, Kung Fu Jones?
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah, it's a weight bench. Why? She's messing with his weight bench and it attacked her. Like, to your credit, you were able to block it pretty well. But why you even messed with it?
I was just sitting here.
She was talking about the stuffed animal that she's had since she was born, essentially. And she named it Spooky, which...
She was like 2 years old when she named it.
Yeah. And I don't even know where she heard the word spooky from. Because it's not like you go up to a 2-year-old and go, isn't that spooky? I don't think that's where you know what I mean? But she named it Spooky, and she's had this little dog. I mean, I remember it was like day one, and you washed it in the washing machine.
No.
How did that happen? That you fried its little...
No, that was a different...
That wasn't that one?
No, that dog is just that way because she's loved on it for like 6 years.
Okay, well...
Because I have pictures, you can look back like 3 or 4 years ago where it was just more fluffy.
Yeah, and by the way, I think I talked about at one point about my Facebook, no, my iPhone doing this right in the middle of the day, just randomly put up this picture montage of like my daughter when she was young and me and all this kind of stuff, right? And I talked about, yeah, and then I said how much that impacted me, but you did that to me like not 2 days ago. The same thing. Sent me a bunch of pictures and of her and me sitting together doing different things. I mean, I didn't have music. Did it have music? I couldn't listen to it because I was at work.
Maybe.
Anyway. But she was talking about this dog Spooky, and she was saying how
I have to get this charger.
She wanted to go to she wanted Spooky to go to heaven. Like she doesn't want to go to heaven without Spooky, this stuffed animal dog. And I just don't even like any of that. Any of those topics. It just all sucks. But I've been thinking a lot about what I don't want to talk about on this podcast and like how it's not like I want to dwell. No, man. You could turn it on, but you already did it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to talk about the things that matter to me, and that if I'm upset or if I'm sad or if it angers me or whatever, I want to be able to talk about it. And at one point I was concerned about whether or not I was being it was a turnoff to people to be like that. Like, it's one thing to be real, but it's another thing to just be brought down every week by some kind of sad story or some kind of thing. But anyway, I don't I don't mind sharing a little bit of that. I can tell the story about the parking garage again. Is that all right?
Yeah, just nicely.
Nicely. Okay, I'll preface it by saying that I do not think, I mean, I don't want to downplay the problems that we have in our society of mental illness and homeless people, and it's a real problem. Okay, and I get it. I'm not oblivious to that fact. Okay, this is just a real situation that happened to me, and but apparently when I told the story earlier today, and you know what? I told it in front of Harlow, so how did I use profanity?
What I'm saying right now.
I don't curse on the show.
You did it earlier.
Did I? I didn't realize. I must have been just talking. What is that?
Read it.
Look at your own phone, fool.
Oh.
She holds up her phone like this and says, read it. And it's like blank. Okay. Oh. Well, they don't know who I'm talking about. Anyway. So I've had problems at this parking garage before. We've talked about that on the show, where I thought those two men were following me all the way from downstairs, and I ran up 8 or 9 flights of stairs because I thought that I was going to be killed. Okay. That, ladies and gentlemen, was her yawning.
You're sorry, I'm tired. It's past my bedtime.
I mean, but do you have to, most people can yawn in the hand or something.
They wouldn't even have heard me. You just called my yawn.
I will mark the time, and I will play it back for you. I bet you.
Awake since 5:30 this morning.
It's high quality. Content right there. All right, so let me tell you what. All right, so I don't wear glasses. I need glasses. I have glasses. I drive with glasses on at night, especially. But I've always had a touch of like, I'm farsighted. No, I'm nearsighted with astigmatism. So, if I don't have my glasses on and it's nighttime, then I gotta be like pretty much 6 feet to 10 feet away from you to figure out what's going on. Okay. Like, I know you're a human being. I know that whatever it is I'm looking at is what it is. I know it's a street sign. I know it's whatever it is, but I don't, honestly.
I'm tired. I'm not yawning at your story.
I know you're not yawning at my story, but it's like my story is being accented by your yawns.
It's fine.
Just don't start snoring.
You're making it a bigger deal by calling out my yawns.
So, on this given night, I was walking to my car, which is at a parking garage that I parked downtown because I'm leaving the show. And this is always like at 1:15, 1:20 in the morning, right? I'm walking. So it must have been Thursday night. And so I see that there's a figure sitting down, right? I could tell there's 2 skinny legs, like with like pants or whatever, and like a head. Look at you. You see, you're surfing on your phone over there.
I've heard the story.
Well, you could be listening and commenting. You could be adding color commentary.
Okay.
Y'all heard that too, right? She didn't mute her Facebook or social feed. She's scrolling in something. She got cold busted right there, scrolling on her phone in the middle of the show. All right. So I'm walking towards the parking garage, and I see somebody very clearly fuzzy, but I know it's a person sitting down on those steps. I'm assuming that it's I mean, I'm assuming it's a homeless person, but I'm assuming that they're just getting out from the elements, which was kind of like a little chilly or whatever. Okay? Maybe even a little misty if I remember. I don't know. Inclemental weather for what it's worth. So, but I'm only beginning to think I'm maybe 6 feet away, maybe 10 feet away before I'm saying, oh, it's a homeless person. How am I approaching this? What do I say? Because I mean, obviously I'm going to, good manners, but what do I say in this instant, right? So I'm like, hi, excuse me. Excuse me, I'm going to just get by you real quick, is what I land on, okay? So, hi, excuse me, I'm going to get by you real quick, right? So, I thought at the worst, the homeless person was going to say, can you spare some change? Or something, right? Or hi, something, right? But instead, like 2 steps past them, they're on this thing, and I hear something like that. And it sent chills down my spine, right? It was like this weird, screechy kind of like, and I thought, oh, I offended this person somehow. They're mad or upset. I turn the corner of the first flight of stairs and I hear it again. And I'm starting to walk a little bit faster up the stairs, and I have, full disclosure, I have like a TV show playing on my phone, because when I'm walking, it occupies in my mind. I like looking at a TV show while I walk, So, but I park on like the 7th or 8th floor, so I go up another flight or 2, and then at the same volume, I hear, so I'm thinking this person is chasing me now because I pissed them off. I said the wrong thing. I did whatever I did to offend this person, and now this homeless person. So for all I know, it was some kind of, person that was bent with rage.
Drug addict or something, you don't know.
Right. All hopped up on the juice, some kind of drug person.
Right, maybe.
But for whatever reason, I thought this person was chasing me, because I was already maybe 3 flights up the stairs and I'm hearing the same volume of the same thing. You scared me when you looked at me right there. Right now, y'all didn't see this on camera. She sat up and looked at me with such conviction about this person. You scared me, woman. You just did. Okay? I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
When I told you that the lady wasn't chasing you, it was probably the echo, you said, don't come at me with your science.
She said she thought that it was the sound of the person from the first floor, and her voice was echoing
up the
stairs. And I told her to not come at me with her science.
Real serious.
Yeah, real serious. But anyway, so I turn off my TV show, because then I have the brilliant idea that this person doesn't know that I'm, like when you get to level 2, you could go and your car might be parked there, but there you go up another flight of stairs, you're on level 3, you could be, so why would this person be chasing me up the 4th or 5th floor unless they can hear me still on the stairs with my stupid TV show? So I'm telling you, I get the best cardio when I'm being chased by drug addicts or like hoodlums downtown. True story. But anyway, the reason why I said, okay, let me preface this. I'm not saying anything negative. But have you ever seen the movie Pet Sematary? Why you sit up and look at me like that, you psycho? You can't just sit up and look at me like that. It's scary. I have to.
No.
Fine.
Cut.
I'm not cutting that out. I'll cut the first one out.
Cut.
You ever see what, Pet Cemetery?
Move along. Don't you have another story to tell?
I'm not deleting. They don't even know what I'm talking about now. All right. I didn't know that I was going to have to do some fancy editing on this episode. Apparently I do. Okay, so the other night, when was it on? I guess it was Sunday, right? I realized that I have a problem. It's a silly problem, but it's a problem nonetheless. And that is that I think that I am susceptible to binge drinking, meaning that I don't see it at the time. Okay. So here's how it went. I sip a drink, clears the throat, whatever, during a show. On this particular instance, on this night, I had a couple, right? But then people started buying drinks for us. And I didn't notice that I was drinking them. I wasn't turning them away. Okay. And the way that the night went was kind of like Vince, the guitar player, like and he often does this. We're both playing guitar. I did a little solo, and then he does a solo, but he's been playing solos his whole life. And so when he solos, he gets a couple woohoos in the middle of the solo, right? Woo, whatever. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like I try, whatever. But I wanted a woohoo. So I'm singing my butt off. And I got some woohoos. But part of it was and the thing about it was that on this particular night, he wasn't drinking anything at all. So it makes it like harder because if he's drinking and I'm having a little bit to drink, then there's no, he's not picking me apart like with like scrutiny. It's just like, everybody's having a good time, everything's fine, whatever. But when he's not drinking at all, then like he gets embarrassed real easy because in between songs I'm like saying things and kind of being free spirited, where I'll say whatever I think, like I'm unfiltered. We talked about that last episode where I don't think that makes somebody any more or less real. Sometimes I feel like that's even more disrespectful if like you don't really you're not really watching your P's and Q's. You're just kind of like saying whatever's on your mind. But I think there's some benefits to it in terms of like people respond for some reason to that sort of like freedom, that sort of saying whatever you think, right? Anyway, it turned out that somehow within the night, I drank 14 ounces of Jack Daniels. For those that are playing at home, it was 14 shots or 7 doubles. I mean, I was that girl from Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I didn't, it was, and to my credit, it didn't.
This was coming from the person who said, I'm not drinking again.
What do you mean?
Because of you getting pulled over.
Oh, but I already told that story on here.
I know, but I'm saying after that happened, you were like, I'm not drinking for a really, really long time. And now
I
you're
mean,
telling
it was a long time.
No.
Was it a week? 2 weeks?
Now you're telling me that you were super intoxicated and got in a car and
No. You're not listening to the story. So, like I said, nothing had hit me yet. But I knew it was coming. Right. So I went back to I walked to the car in the parking garage. It's on another night. No homeless person. Right. But I made the commitment. I said, I'm not going anywhere until I'm 100%. Like, yeah. And so what I decided to do is that I was going to watch a TV show in my car. I'm going to kick it and, And here's the thing. I've been saying for a while that I was wanting to record a podcast with a bottle of whiskey and record. Sort of see where it takes me. And I'm rethinking that whole idea. I don't want to do that now. And I'll tell you why. One of the first things I did was I went up to the car, I sat down, and I had like about a half a gallon of water, because I always have a gallon of water to drink during the show. So I sit in the car, and I'm getting ready to do to watch a TV show. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to drive yet. I don't think so. I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm getting ready to put on a TV show, and I said, you know what? I'm going to record a podcast. And I set the camera up, and I started recording. And I'll tell you right now, I rewatched it today. I laughed so hard. Because I repeat the same thing like 5 times. And I'm like looking at the window. And I'm like, and I think it's so profound what I'm saying. And I'm saying it again. And then I say it a different way. And then I repeat it again. And then I say something else. And then I can tell I'm thinking it's the first time I said it. Because it's so, in my head, it's so I just couldn't even, I deleted it today. I said, no way. But one of the things that I was concerned with or talking about was that I think it uncovered something of this dynamic that I have with my cousin. Because we talked about it's been an ongoing theme on this show about natural talent versus like having to work really hard. And everything that I do in my life, everything that I have, none of it's just come naturally. Nothing's just a given talent. I mean, I've nurtured things. I've worked hard on developing things. But we were on another day, I was driving with my cousin, and he was saying how playing these shows and playing music, it's always been easy for him. It's something that he finds to be very simple, expressing himself, writing, all this stuff. And that sort of echoed in my mind throughout the night with the woohoos and he has a lot of natural talent, that he has. Is that a Roomba?
Yeah.
Did our Roomba just start out of nowhere?
Yeah.
What the I mean, did that scare y'all at home? Because it scared me right now. Our Roomba just turned on by itself. Okay. But it was something that occurred to me or whatever, that for me, it's something that I struggle with. I work real hard, and so that was the theme of that little recorded podcast. I mean, that little, tirade or rant or whatever that I deleted. It was something that, but I ended up watching a couple shows. I drank the entire thing of water. We had taken our dog on a walk or whatever, and there was this spray bottle that you spray the dog with whenever the dog's acting up, and I drank all of that water. I mean, I was just grasping at straws. But
not like we're mean people. It's, spraying the dog with the water.
It's discipline. It's preventing the dog from doing whatever we don't want it to do. I mean, the point is I drank the water out of that spray bottle. And between all that, I watched like maybe a show and a half. It was actually kind of nice to just sit there and kick it. The dog's licking her paw. Put the collar on it. I paid like all that money for the collar. Anyway, but I did the responsible thing. I mean, of course, it wasn't responsible to have that much to drink, but the responsible part was not driving and just kicking it and watching TV shows and until I felt like I was 100%. But yeah, it got me thinking. I think that I went like if I'm not drinking, I'm fine. But if I have a one or two, then I just want it all. Like I don't want just I don't do it for the taste, you know what I mean? Or like I don't have a shut off. Everything is like it's like a floodgate where and I don't know if that's necessarily the definition of a problem, but if it's more than what you feel like you want to do, then I think that's probably a problem, right? When I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm done, but then there's a double shot sitting there, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't. All right, I'll do it, and then I'll take another drink. I think that's probably, but they do say that the first thing that goes out is your capacity to make sound choices. So, but, so the room would turn on by itself and she took off and then now she's gone. So, we'll pretend like she says her goodbyes, whatever. But thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate the subscriptions and, appreciate your comments and be sure to let me know what you think of today's episode. You can send me an email on lostlikemike@gmail.com or comment. If you comment on one of the obscure ones, I don't know. I don't really check them that often. I probably should. But if you comment on YouTube or we'll say Spotify, I'll see if there's any new ones on there. Let me know. But other than that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.